Hey, what's up, and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere in between and answer them here in video format. A ton of questions to get into, and if you want to make sure that your question gets onto the show, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any uploads and you don't miss out when I ask for questions in the community prompt. With that being said, I'm going to start with our first question from Cam, who says, with Tampa going into this weird state at the Tom Brady retiring, do you see the Browns possibly going after Vita Vea or one of their wide receivers? I don't know what assets we got, but I think it's interesting. Also, would you like to see defensively wise the Browns acquire in the offseason? Well, I've already talked about that. There's videos on this channel where you can check that out. Where I'm talking about DeForest Buckner and some of and Jordan Poyer and some of the defensive pieces I would like to add if you have the opportunity. But as far as Tampa Bay situation, I always am hesitant to assume that a team is going to be rebuilding, because what I've seen over the years is we assume that a team's going to be rebuilding, and then all of a sudden they're not, right? Like, that's just what we're assuming right now. And I would even have a more difficult time assuming that, because there are going to be some quarterbacks available that you can think, if you're a team, we can make a run with this guy. Derek Carr is the first one to come to mind. Jimmy Garoppolo. Y'all know how I feel about Jimmy Garoppolo, but that's not how everybody feel about Jimmy Garoppolo. So there's people who really think that they could do something with Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe there's a team or two that feels like they could do something with Baker Mayfield. But I mean, after that, you're kind of like, maybe Aaron Rodgers becomes available. I don't know what the future is for Tampa Bay, but I don't think they're just going to fall quietly into the night and start rebuilding immediately. I think they're going to be a bit more stubborn about that. I think they're going to make a move to try to win now still with this roster. I don't know if that would be a good move, but I think that's going to be the move that they make. So I don't think anybody's going to become available from Tampa Bay's roster. Next question comes from Warren Lance, who says, what are your thoughts on the Pro Bowl shifting to flag football? Do you like the skill challenges, or is the entire event just a waste of time? My issue with the Pro Bowl was I honestly felt like it was fine how it is. I know that people complain on Twitter about the Pro Bowl whenever the Pro Bowl game is happening, but those aren't the people that they play the Pro Bowl game for. People like you and me that are going to watch dedicated channels to specific teams and really get it. The Pro Bowl's not for us. The Pro Bowl is for everybody else, right? The Pro Bowl isn't for the person that's going to have 5 Twitter accounts to troll other fans. Like, that's not what the Pro Bowl is for. The Pro Bowl is for little kids and very casual fans. Like, that's what the Pro Bowl is for, and that's okay. But, like, Twitter has this thing, and Twitter communities have this thing, to where if something isn't tailor-made for you, you throw a fit as if it's the worst thing in the world. And I felt like the Pro Bowl, look, it wasn't for me. Like, I would rather watch the XFL than the Pro Bowl. But that doesn't mean the Pro Bowl has no purpose. The Pro Bowl did have a purpose. There are very, very many casual fans that are going to watch the Pro Bowl now and see flag football and go, what the, no, right? Because the ideal of the Pro Bowl was, let's give them something that resembles a football game in aesthetic, right? With, people are out there at least in full uniform and pads and stuff, without any of the risk of actually playing a football game. That's what the Pro Bowl was for. That was for everybody else. It was not for us, but we made such a fit about it that they felt like they needed to shift it to flag football, which I think is even worse, because flag football is not just football without pads. Flag football is a completely different game. And now it genuinely, the Pro Bowl did not feel like a waste of time last year and years before. It genuinely feels like a waste of time right now. It really does. It does. Like, I don't know who it serves anymore because they changed this to appease the people on Twitter complaining, so more hardcore fans. But the people on Twitter complaining don't care if it's flag football or touch football or whatever it is. People just complain, dog. And now nobody's happy with flag football, man. Nobody's happy. And I think the ideal is, hey, if we take away the ideal of contact completely, maybe we'll get better performances out of these guys. But I don't think that's the case, man. Nobody's trying to try that hard because it's the Pro Bowl, dog. And football is not the type of game that lends itself to an all-star game. It just isn't. Baseball, you could do an all-star game. Basketball, you could do an all-star game. Football, the all-star game is not going to resemble the product at all. And I just don't get why we continue to do this, where we complain that the all-star games aren't played as hard as the regular games, as if we are not aware that they are all-star games. Why do we expect them to get the same effort in the All-Star game, which is meant to be a relaxation? They are on vacation during the All-Star break for basketball and football. But we swear to God, they got to play actual football. What is that? If you got a reward from your job for being really good at your job, and they say, hey, we going to send you to Vegas this week for being really good at your job, and then you get there, and then they asking you to do your job just as hard as you had to do your job at your job, you would be mad, right? What kind of reward is that? Why I gotta do my job at my job? No, man, it should be a reward. Like, you shouldn't have to do your job at the reward. It should be a very, very casual version of that, if anything. And that's what the Pro Bowl was. But everybody wanted to complain, and now it's even worse. It's even worse. And I'm not saying don't complain, but like, just when you do complain, have a plan. Like, what was the plan here with the Pro Bowl, man? You know what I mean? We complained all about this Pro Bowl, and for what? What did we change? We just got a worse version of what we had. Like, there's no way to fix the Pro Bowl. We got to have the context in there when we talk about the Pro Bowl that it's a all-star game. Nobody's trying to work hard during vacation. That's what it is. But we swear to God, these dudes got to work hard during it. It don't make no sense to me. Pee Wee's Dog Pound says, with the Broncos giving up a first and second round pick for Sean Payton, can you theorize how much draft cash? Oh, man, I don't feel like doing that. Look, it's probably a first and second for every coach except for Kevin Stefanski and Zach Taylor. Because those are former Super Bowl winning coaches. Maybe Mike Tomlin goes for more. Who knows? You shouldn't be trading for head coaches. Like, that's not going to fix your franchise, is trading for a head coach. It's just not. It may feel like it's going to fix your franchise, but it's not. The reason teams are not able to have coaches for a long time is because they don't have management that can maintain a decent enough team to justify having a coach for a long time. It's not because there's not that many individuals out there that are capable of doing it. There are plenty of people who are capable of being a competent coach that could be with your team for 5+ years. It's just that there's not a lot of people capable of running these teams that are able to do it. There is no reason you should be paying 3 first-round picks for any coach, because it's not going to change the direction of your team. We don't think Zach Taylor's that great of a coach, right? 2 AFC championships in a row. We had all the complaints about Andy Reid when he was with Philadelphia. He's been in like 6 AFC championship games in a row. Like, the coaching matters, but so much. I'm not saying you could just throw Freddie Kitchens out there and become a dynasty, but you don't need to have the greatest coach in the world to be a Super Bowl contender. It's not quarterback. And the premiums are getting as close to quarterback with coaches. And I think that's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous overpay. I mean, get your money, but that's a ridiculous overpay. Ian K says, hey, Q, do you think tight end position will be used? Importance will change under Watson's offense or stay the same? Yeah, it'll be more important. I think how the role is played too will change. I think they're going to be asking their tight ends to do less inline blocking and more, just kind of route running. We're going to be shifting what we look for in these tight ends in general. The next question comes from Doomsday Prophet, who says, hey, the wide agreement on the Browns is the biggest need is wide receiver speed, skill and depth on the defensive line, O-line. We have 6 picks between 43 and 143. Which of those do we need, and we can realistically draft the free agency? I understand why everybody feels like everybody is saying we need wide receiver speed, and we do to a point. But I don't think wide receiver speed is what's going to move the needle for this offense. It will help, but I don't think it's going to move the needle. What this team needs is somebody who could be a reliable red zone target. Because if you look at why the Browns didn't win some of these games, why Deshaun Watson didn't throw as many touchdowns as he wants, because these drives start out in the red zone. We can get there as easily as we want. It's about red zone execution, and I think that really failed us throughout the year, is that we just don't got a guy who can win one-on-one in the red zone and maybe pluck a 50-50 ball. We just don't have that guy. I would rather have that guy than a speed guy if the choice came down to it. With the 6 picks between 43 and 143, look, you're not going to fill your needs with the draft. I think we're so used to the Browns being incompetent that we kind of expect incompetence, and then when they don't do incompetence, we get mad. You shouldn't be drafting for need. Like, that's not a good way to go about it. Every once in a while, yeah, you got to draft for need, and maybe 1 or 2 picks you draft for need, but most of your picks shouldn't be about need. It should be about how you plan to fill this roster out and getting the best player that you feel like is available, regardless of need. And I think they should fill their needs in free agency, right? If you need a D lineman, get them in free agency. I don't know if you need to address wide receiver speed in free agency, and maybe you get somebody in the draft. I just don't think it's as important as everybody's making it out to be, because the problem I saw with this Browns offense wasn't, hey, they can't get 40-yard chunks every once in a while. Because let's think about it. When we think about any wide receiver speed role, we're talking about guys going to get 2 touchdowns, 500 yards. How important is that? Really, how important is that? It's not that important. It's a role, but it's not really that important. It's not worth spending like a 2nd-round pick on, unless you feel like that guy can develop into a true one. But that's my thoughts on it. I think we're putting too much emphasis on wide receiver speed as a need this offseason. Saman Brand says, what will Jim Schwartz's main focus be on the defense this upcoming season? Figuring out whatever the communication issues were with this defense, and improving defensive tackle play by developing the players that are already there and seeing what you can add on top of that. Got to have this defense reach its potential. Greg with the next question. Hey, Q, what do you see Lamar Jackson's situation playing out? I mean, I've said this for a while. I don't think he's going to be back. These things, they get to a point like this, and look, there are people who, I'll put it like this. There are people who are used to working in these environments without human interaction, or without understanding or having to understand the human element of this negotiation. And those people will tell you, you can franchise tag him and force him to be your quarterback for the next 2 years. Technically true. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you want your quarterback to be a hostage? Do you really think that's going to be a good idea? That the leader of your team, the face of your franchise, the most recognizable player, to be there when he don't want to be there under the current price that you're paying? He will show up. Maybe he'll play under tag, maybe he won't. But do you want that? Because he's not even on the franchise tag, and we got all kind of hell about him, whether he played or didn't play on this knee. That some people feel like he could play it on. I don't, but some people do. Is that going to be an environment ripe for success? Or are you going to have people, when the quarterback feels like, now I got to look out for myself because the team ain't looking out for me, now more people are going to be feeling like they got to look out for themselves? Is that what fosters an environment for winning? Name me the last quarterback that won a Super Bowl on a franchise tag. Yeah, you could throw the franchise tag on him. That's not a winning strategy. And you got to do it now because you're out of moves if you're Baltimore. You spent 2 years not using them. Now you out of moves. So now the ball is in Lamar's court, and what Lamar can do is say, if I don't want to be here, you're going to have to move me. And unless you want to offer me the price I think is fair, I don't want to be here. And he will get what he wants, or at least closer to what he wants. And honestly, at this point, the hesitation to give him the money has been so disrespectful that he might take the same money somewhere else because he feels disrespected by the Ravens. Just a bad situation. I don't know how people don't talk about that being dysfunctional. That whole situation. You have a former MVP quarterback going without a contract, and somehow we are letting it slide. And I don't like that. Like, if any other team, could you imagine the fury people would have with the Bills if they let Josh Allen get to this point? People been talking about the Bills like all kind of, if they let this get to this point with Josh Allen. But Lamar Jackson, who has accomplished more, is a former MVP. They let get to this point, nobody got anything to say. Nah, man, come on. Deshaun Watson is better than Burrow, right? More talented and powerful. I think he is. But they're different players, and I don't want to get into this whole comp game. Look, right now, Deshaun Watson's not as accomplished as Joe Burrow. So Deshaun Watson has some ground to make up with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's been to a couple AFC championship games back-to-back. Been to a Super Bowl. Like, he's has really, like, won an AFC championship. Real deal accomplishment. Deshaun's got to catch up to that. I'll say athleticism-wise, yeah, Deshaun's a better athlete. I think he throws a tighter football. I think he's a bit more powerful. But there's a lot of guys who are better athletes than Joe Burrow, and not better quarterbacks. So we'll see. He has to play himself into that conversation right now, and he's not in that conversation right now. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Everybody have a great day.